Now, the Home Secretary, Priti Patel, is to permanently lift the restrictions on police using stop and search, she says, in an effort to tackle violent crime. It's a bit technical, we'll take you through it. Changes to Section 60 of the Criminal Justice and Public Order Act will allow police officers to conduct a stop and search if they anticipate that violence, keyword, may occur, rather than the current rules where they had to prove violence will occur. It's a key distinction. While the Home Secretary says the move will help tackle knife crime, it's been criticised by some campaigners who say relaxing restrictions could lead to discrimination on the streets, particularly against young black men. Let's discuss this with Ken Hinds, the chair of the Haringey Stop and Search Group, and Julie Taylor, who's been campaigning against knife crime following the death of her grandson, who was stabbed to death in 2020. We appreciate your time, both of you. Thanks for talking to us on this one. Let's start, I suppose, where we should, with the victim's perspective on this. Julie, remind us how you got involved in this area, this campaign subject. What happened?
As you say, my grandson was murdered by knife crime on the 31st January 2020. Up until then, we had in our family and our friends and our circle of friendship no idea about knife crime, nothing. We knew nothing. So for me, stop and search, this has been the best news I've had literally since his killers were convicted. For me, it's really, really important. My own children have been stopped and searched. My younger son at least 3 times, and we live in Essex. We live in a little quiet town. I'm very, very happy that he's been stopped. I'm not bothered about it at all. He's quite right. It has to be done properly. I agree with that. And like you say, with the body-worn camera and everything else, I would love myself to be stopped and searched. Look at me. I'm nearly 60 years old. I'm a white woman living in a society where knife crime and violent crime, any sort of crime, is just beyond a joke now. It's every single day. So I completely agree with this, and I'm really glad this has happened.
Ken Hinds, on that essential point there, that if you have nothing to hide, then you have nothing to object to if you're stopped and searched.
First of all, I'd just like to offer my condolences for your loss and the heartache that must cause, that I may not understand the deep effect, how it affects you. But to talk about stop and search, I've been stopped and searched over 125 times, right? But now I'm a community elder. But my thing is simply this. Like yourself, I'm at the forefront of working with these young men who may be involved, both as victim and perpetrator, of knife crime and involving gangs. But my thing is simply this. When the police, this particular law, Section 60, is a no suspicion law. And what generally happens is it means that they don't need no excuse to stop and search you in a demographic area of a particular time. But my simple fact is this. Yes, they say that the violent is disproportionately affect black youngsters, both as victim and perpetrators. And my thing is that why are you going to use a law that's going to further alienate that very community that we need to reach to order to deflect them from carrying knives?
Julia, I suspect you'd say it's not alienating to take knives off the street if that's the consequence of this law. Yes,
I understand what you're saying. Like I said, my own children have been stopped. I don't have a problem with it. I'm happy that's happened. I spend every waking hour fundraising and carrying about life-saving equipment, Daniel Baird bleed bags. They're for catastrophic bleeds, for gunshots, for stab victims, for any kind of major bleed. So for me, because I belong to so many groups and I speak to so many victims' parents, we are all literally singing the same song. As long as it's done properly, I understand what you're saying. It has to be done properly. I actually go out with the Met Police on ride-alongs, and it's really opened my eyes even further. So I was kind of expecting, will they all be coloured people? I've got to admit that was what I was warned this would happen. No, it wasn't. It was done correctly. It was done properly. I have been into schools and talked with the police, and a young Asian girl said, you know, what if I don't want to be stopped and searched? What if it's not done properly? Good point. So as the officer said, you know, if we've got the power to do it, it will happen. If it's not done properly, just stand. And this is what my son had said to me himself. I just stand. I let them do it. But my son's been lucky. It's been done properly on each occasion. I'm really sorry you've been stopped 125 times. I'd be annoyed if I was you. But for us as parents, you know, everybody wants to blame somebody and doesn't want it to happen. And it is the whole of society to blame for this. It is the person that picks up the knife. It is the parents that are drumming it into their children. Don't speak to, not even the police, it's the feds, isn't it? Don't grass, don't do this. Well, we're going to wipe out this community if this doesn't happen. You know, it's down to not enough police. It's down to, I'm sorry, in my opinion, not enough stop and search. I would like to see knife archers absolutely everywhere. There's a local pub in Braintree in Essex that not only stops you at the door and puts a wand over you, they then take away the workman's tool. So if he's got a standing knife and he's a genuine worker, they'll take that away from him.
Julie, I mean, the paint you pitch, the picture you paint, rather, you can see why you feel that this is an absolute epidemic. Let me just put some of your thoughts to Ken Hinds. I haven't got that much longer left, but Ken, I've lost count of how many times I've moderated conversations along these lines, stop and search, good or bad. I just wonder, Julie introduces one. It's not new under the sun, but it's still relatively new, this idea that officers are wearing body-worn cameras. So whatever the interchange is between the law enforcement officials and the people being stopped, it is now a matter of public record because of these cameras. That must be some form of reassurance.
It would be if it was it's a potential game changer, but it's not a game changer if there's no sanction for the police if they use it inappropriately. Inappropriately means that they don't start the recording ahead of the stop and search, and they may end it earlier than the end of the encounter. The other thing is they may not start it at all. So all these things does not lead to them being disciplined for using that piece of apparatus appropriately. But my thing is simply this. Let's get it straight. Stop and search. As I said, recently, in a month, there was 20,000 stops and searches. And out of that, don't get me wrong, they took 300 knives in the Met London area off our street. That equates to one knife a week from each of the boroughs. My thing is simply this. My grassroots group and others like mine take more knives off of these youngsters, encourage them to give them up. The difference between when they give it up to us is that they're less likely to arm themselves again, as opposed to when a police takes it off of them. They say simply this. If I much prefer to be caught with my knife by the police and be judged by 12 of my peers than to be caught without it by my opposition and be carried to my grave by 6. This is what we're facing. So we need to have a double edge, a stronger deterrent. I believe everyone should get longer sentences. And the other thing is the public health approach, like they did in Scotland. That means having deflection from carrying knives and having people, mentors and people who can actually change the psychologies of these young people so we get better results for all.
Ken Hinds, Julie Taylor, we're out of time. We should have booked longer for that one. It's a complicated subject and you both have strong feelings on it. So we'll say thank you for now. Thanks very much.